We saw a fantastic game from many Raiders players, but specifically Josh Jacobs had himself quite a day, over 300 all-purpose yards in this one. There was so much he did for this Raiders offense, so let's talk about what he did well, and we're going to start off with this play. You see the blocking concept on your screen. It's going to be a run to the offense's right. Worth noting, there's a fullback in on this play, so, that always, I feel like, I like fullbacks. I feel like fullbacks help in the running game, and that's going to get up and block the player who's on the edge there. You see for the Raiders, well blocked. They really did a great job blocking in this game, which of course you have to do if you're going to have a running back have as many yards as Jacobs did. But you see right here, there is a Seattle player who can get over and make the play if Jacobs does cut into that gap, which he's going to do. So Jacobs doesn't have to run there, but that's what he wants to do. I think typically you see this and suspect that it's only going to go for a few yards right here, nothing major, and this is where the value of an elite running back, which Jacobs absolutely has been this season, comes into play. Watch him be able to get over, and he's able to make that juke and avoid the Seattle player who I thought for sure was about to tackle him. So, okay, you got around one guy, but now there's another Seattle player right here. Good work, but you're still probably only going to get an extra yard or two because of that. Well, no, you see Jacobs be able to pull off the stiff arm and ends up getting a touchdown on this play. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, that should have, realistically, with a league average running back, you're looking at like a 2nd down and 7 type scenario there. Instead, Jacobs turns it from that into a touchdown. That's a huge swing in a football game, and if you can just get a couple of those in a game, you have absolutely added value. So, again, the whole question of how much does a running back matter? Well, in that play, mattered quite a bit. Going over here, definitely in short yardage situations, running backs can matter, and this is a 4th down and 2. So, big play in this football game. I mean, a play like this can be a swing in a game. So, it might not necessarily be the biggest deal yardage-wise, but being able to get 2 yards versus 0 yards on this play is, that's the difference in the EPA difference is in several points on this one. The block I've highlighted is going to be Mac Hollins' block. That's the one I want you to pay attention to. Watch how Hollins goes out, and I think at the beginning does a pretty good job, but eventually the defensive back for Seattle is able to get around it and get in position to where he can potentially come in and make a tackle on Jacobs. He's the one guy who has the best chance, and for Jacobs, there's 2 options. I think Jacobs is kind of known for being a guy who can definitely lower his shoulder and, pick up the extra yard that way, but that's not the only way he can pick up the extra yard. Watch him kind of fake as though he's doing that, but then bounces to the outside and is able to, in fact, pick up the 1st down. So again, just really good stuff from Josh Jacobs to just be able to do that, to have the athleticism to do that. And then when you factor in the situation of it being a 4th down and 2, that's another one where it's like, okay, yardage-wise, the difference between a league average running back and Josh Jacobs might not be huge, but on this specific play, it was everything. Going over here now, he was also able to be effective in the passing game, sometimes with just simple stuff, like what you see on the screen. This is nothing fancy. This is not going to be a highlight reel level play, but it's just small things of being a part of the offense, right? Because that is kind of a running back's job. Is yes, when you're running with the football, you're the guy with the ball actually in your hands. But on the snaps where you're not, you still want to be a valuable part of the offense. And one way you can do that is just by being the guy who runs the check down route, which Jacobs will do here. Watch Carr take the snap. Carr looks down the field, but eventually decides that Josh Jacobs, who is wide open, because of the way that the Seahawks are playing coverage. So Carr's going to hit Jacobs. Jacobs picks up a few yards. Again, nothing crazy here, but this really does help your football team, right? Again, it's the whole can't go broke making a profit type mentality, and on a 2nd down and 10, this turned it into a 3rd down and 1. If a league average running back is there, how many yards do they get? I don't know, probably pretty close to what they did get, but still, part of it, too, is being able to do the simple stuff, not just being able to do the great stuff that we see him do, and I will show more of him doing, but the simple stuff does matter. But also going over to stuff like this is less simple. I mean, this is going to be man coverage, and he's running a slant route over the middle. I mean, he's an outside receiver, basically, on this play. It looks like it's kind of set up to try and isolate some matchups to the offense's left, because Jacobs is the only receiver who's out wide on that side of the field. There are 2 tight ends on that side of the field who actually both will be running routes, but, as it stands right now, Jacobs is kind of on his own. And watch how he kind of hesitates. First, looks like he's not doing anything, but eventually starts to run the slant over the middle. Really love that play design, because sometimes you see a halfback kind of sit sit like that, and it's just, the whole point of it is just to take away a defensive back. So it kind of seemed like maybe that's what he was doing, but then when he cuts over the middle, he's able to get open. So good play design, and now Jacobs is able to make the grab, and look at him go. He's in open space, which obviously helps as well. So being able to scheme up, him with the ball, that's obviously a great situation. So we've seen them do that with Davante Adams, scheme a way to get Davante Adams the ball in open space. Well, Josh Jacobs, another guy you would absolutely love to scheme open and, get him in extra space. And going over here, speaking of Davante Adams, this is actually going to involve Davante Adams. So this is the game winner, the biggest play of the game, as this is going to be an 86-yard touchdown run. So in overtime, yeah, that's obviously the biggest highlight of the game for Jacobs. So I had to talk about it. There's a reason why I'm saying Davante Adams is going to come into play. Carr takes the snap. Carr gives the ball to Jacobs. Really well blocked by the Raiders. I mean, you watch him be able to just get completely through untouched. So great blocking by Las Vegas. Well done. But now we're in this spot where there's one safety to beat. And you might notice, hey, that safety's pretty far towards the bottom of the screen. That's because prior to the snap, Davante Adams was on that side of the field, and so the safety was shading over the top, which I actually don't disagree with, but this is the value of a Davante Adams, is it can just get guys one step out of position going towards Adams. Just like for Jacobs, he can get guys one step out of position, which can leave stuff open for Adams, right? This is, the more talent you have on your offense, the easier it is for the rest of your offense to succeed. But also look at Jacobs be able to blow by that safety because he still certainly had a chance, and he's going to go the rest of the way. Got to pause it for a second just for copyright reasons, but he will eventually go the rest of the way into the end zone for a touchdown. So just, really good stuff from Josh Jacobs to be able to pull that off. I mean, again, this was a fantastic day from Josh Jacobs. It really was. I think it's fair to question, do you pay Josh Jacobs or not? Do you go out and do you give him the big contract, or do you not give him the big contract and say, hey, you're a running back, I'm not really interested in doing that? I think the nice thing is if you're the Raiders, you don't have to give him the contract just yet. You can franchise tag him. The tag for a halfback is very low, so that's probably the move. But it's a very interesting situation that has developed of Josh Jacobs, someone who they didn't pick up the fifth-year option. It kind of felt like, okay, the guy, had a great start to his career, but, running backs do kind of fall off a cliff very quickly. His first season, he had 4.8 yards per carry, but then he had 3.9 in 2020. He had 4.0 in 2021, but now he's up to a career high 5.4 in 2022, and he's averaging over 100 yards per game. He's already having a career high in rushing yards. He's already passed his career high in rushing yards this season, which is kind of crazy to think about. The guy's leading the league in rushing. Again, 300 total yards, if you count the receiving yards in this past game, obviously helps with that. But, I mean, the guy's having a career year in his fourth year as a pro. You don't often see that with a running back, and, I think that there's definitely some value, and I think that if I'm the Raiders, even me, as someone who isn't a huge, pay to running back guy, I'm at least making sure I keep him on my roster next year. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What were your thoughts on Josh Jacobs and his performance with the Raiders beating the Seattle Seahawks? Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.